Every rider dreams of the open road, but what if the real threats on a long motorcycle trip are the ones nobody posts on Instagram? Like your brain drifting into highway hypnosis after just 20 minutes, leaving you blind for over 300 feet before you even realize it? The truth is, exhaustion, body aches, and an eerie sense of loneliness start breaking you down far sooner than mechanical failures or bad weather ever could. Social media skips these hidden battles, but on a journey measured in thousands of miles, ignoring them could cost you control, connection, or even survival. So what are the hidden problems that no one talks about, and how can you prepare before they sneak up from inside your own helmet? Highway riding empties your mind faster than you'd expect. After just 20 minutes on a straight stretch, your brain starts to slip into autopilot. You're still scanning the road, still holding the bars, but your awareness fades into the hum of the engine and the blur of passing lines. This isn't just a feeling. Studies show that highway hypnosis can hit in less than half an hour, even for experienced riders. At that point, your reaction time drops, and you might not notice until something snaps you back. Microsleeps are the hidden danger. These are moments, sometimes just 3 seconds, when your brain checks out completely. At 65 miles an hour, that's over 280 feet traveled with zero control. One iron butt veteran described nodding off for a split second near mile 800, only realizing it when the bike drifted toward the rumble strip. He was lucky. Many aren't. Microsleeps don't feel like naps. You just lose a chunk of time, and the bike keeps moving. If a car brakes, a deer jumps, or the pavement twists, you're not there to react. Rider forums are full of stories like this. The advice is blunt. Break the trance before it breaks you. The 45-15 rule is popular. Ride 45 minutes, then take a 15-minute stop to reset your brain. Some riders set alarms to force breaks. Others switch up music or chew gum to stay alert. But even with tricks, the risk never disappears. Mental drain is the first crack in your armor, and it comes long before your back aches or the weather turns. On a long trip, defending your focus isn't optional. It's survival. Saddle soreness is more than just a nuisance on a long ride. It's the first domino in a chain that can end your trip early. After a few hours, pressure points start to burn, then go numb. But numbness isn't relief. It's your body's warning that blood flow is being cut off, and that's when the real trouble begins. Riders who push past this stage often find their legs feel weak and unsteady at gas stops, and the sensation doesn't always come back after a quick break. It's not just your backside taking a beating. Your hands and forearms are working overtime, gripping the bars and feathering the controls. In studies using muscle sensors, 84% of riders showed clear signs of fatigue in the extensor muscles, the ones that keep your wrists and fingers stable for braking and throttle control. The more tired these muscles get, the sloppier your inputs become. It's subtle at first. Maybe you're a little slower to squeeze the brake, or your throttle hand feels shaky. But as the hours stack up, that lag can mean the difference between a smooth stop and a locked wheel. Hydration is another hidden enemy. As you ride, wind and sun pull moisture from your skin faster than you realize. Dehydration sets in quietly, bringing headaches, muscle cramps, and even blurred vision. Many iron butt veterans swear by hydration packs with bite valves, making it easy to sip without stopping. Others add a pinch of electrolyte powder to their water, fighting off the fatigue that plain water can't touch. Most riders hit a wall somewhere between 30 and 35 hours in the saddle. That's when muscle fatigue, joint pain, and nerve compression pile up, making it hard to stand, let alone control a loaded bike. At this point, even simple tasks like balancing at a stoplight or reacting to a sudden swerve can feel impossible. The body's warning lights are flashing, but on a solo stretch of highway, there's no one else to notice if you start to slip. Stretching at every stop, swapping hand positions, and standing on the pegs for a minute or two can buy you time, but there's no gear or gadget that can erase the toll of too many hours in the saddle. And just when you think you've got your body under control, isolation starts working its way in. Riding alone for days on end does something strange to your mind. At first, the silence feels like freedom. No chatter in your helmet, no one to negotiate lunch stops with, just the steady pulse of the road and your own thoughts. But as the miles stack up and the towns blur together, a new kind of fatigue creeps in. It's not just boredom, it's a hollow, restless ache that can make even a crowded gas station feel like the only place you belong. Some solo riders hit a point where conversation dries up so completely that talking to the gas pump doesn't seem odd anymore. There are stories on ADV Rider about folks who, after 10 or 12 days with nothing but quick exchanges at the register, started chatting with their bike or narrating their thoughts just to hear a human voice. It's easy to laugh, but the pattern is real. Extended solo travel, especially when you're far from home, can leave you feeling invisible. The world keeps spinning, but you're just passing through, unseen and unanchored. The impact goes beyond mood. Studies of solo motorcycle travelers show that long stretches without meaningful conversation can mess with your sense of time and erode confidence in your decisions. Small problems start to feel bigger. It's easy to second-guess your route, your gear, or even your reasons for being out there in the first place. Some riders find themselves lingering at rest stops or chatting up strangers just for a few minutes of connection, because even a short exchange can snap you out of that mental spiral. Experienced solo tourers share a few tricks. They schedule regular check-ins with friends or family, even if it's just a text or a quick call. Others join online riding groups or plan to meet up with local riders along the way. Some keep audio diaries or set daily rituals, like a special meal or a nightly journal entry, to give each day a sense of shape. The truth is, loneliness on the road isn't a sign of weakness. It's a natural part of riding alone for days at a time. And if you're not ready for it, it can hit just as hard as fatigue or bad weather. That's why building in ways to reconnect, however small, can be as important as packing the right tools or rain gear. Beartooth Pass in Montana lures riders with its sweeping curves and big sky views, but the real challenge isn't the road, it's the weather that comes out of nowhere. As you climb, the air thins and the temperature drops fast. For every 1,000 feet you gain, you lose about 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit. A sunny 60-degree afternoon at the base can turn into freezing fog at the summit, and it happens in less than an hour. That's not just a comfort issue, it's a survival problem. On a June morning, 6 riders set out for Beartooth thinking they'd make the crossing before lunch. Halfway up, the sky went from blue to slate, and snow started falling so thick they could barely see their own headlights. The pass, nearly 11,000 feet high, was suddenly buried in whiteout. They left their bikes by the roadside and hitched rides back down with passing trucks. The weather app on their phones still showed partly cloudy. Mountain passes like this create their own weather. Orographic lift pushes moist air up the slopes, cooling it until clouds and storms burst right over the road. Forecasts rarely catch these microclimates, and even experienced locals have been caught off guard. That's why seasoned riders always pack extra layers, even in July, and keep waterproof gloves within reach. The risk isn't just cold hands, it's losing feeling in your fingers, shivering so hard you can't grip the bars, or worse, getting stranded when the road ices over in minutes. Stories of riders stranded by sudden storms are all over ADV rider and touring forums. The advice is simple: trust your senses, not your weather app. If the air chills and the clouds start to sink, turn back or find shelter. Out here, a 10-degree drop can mean the difference between a scenic ride and a night spent waiting for rescue. Mountain weather doesn't care how well you planned. Rain doesn't just mean getting wet. The real danger begins in the first 10 minutes when the road turns into a skating rink. All the oil, dust, and rubber that's been building up since the last storm lifts to the surface, mixing with the water to create a film slicker than ice. That's the moment most riders go down. Transportation research shows that in those first 15 minutes, the friction between your tire and the pavement can drop by half. Even a thin layer of water, less than a credit card thick, can cut grip by 30%. Add in a little oil, and your stopping distance just doubled. But the weather isn't your only enemy. Your gear can betray you, and it happens faster than you'd think. Most waterproof jackets and pants lose their seal after just 1 to 3 years of use. The first sign is usually a cold trickle down your back or a damp patch on your thigh. Suddenly, you're soaked from the inside out, shivering, and your focus is shot. One composite rider from the ADV Rider Forum described a visor blackout. Rain hit, his pinlock insert failed, and within seconds, his world turned to fog. He couldn't see the taillights in front of him or the edge of the road. He had to pull off, helmet off, in a full-blown panic, just to breathe and wait out the storm. A fogged visor at highway speed is more than an annoyance. It's a blackout. Without a pinlock or a good anti-fog system, you're riding blind. Riders who skip the upgrade often end up wiping the inside of their visor with a glove, smearing the fog into a blurry mess. Meanwhile, every car behind you is still moving at 65 miles per hour, and your window for a safe stop is shrinking by the second. It's not just about seeing, it's about being seen. Rain-smeared visors, fogged glasses, and soaked gloves mean your reaction time plummets. The risk of a skid or a slide is highest during that first stretch of rain, when the surface hasn't been rinsed clean. Even after the worst passes, if your gear is saturated or your visibility is shot, you're still riding on borrowed time. Seasoned riders replace their vision gear every couple of years, keep a backup visor or insert on hand, and never trust old waterproofing to save them. Out here, a $30 pin lock can be the line between a close call and a crash. GPS can turn from your best friend to your biggest liability in a heartbeat. Digital maps love to promise the fastest route, but real roads don't always play along. A Maine rider planned an 1,800-mile loop through the Northeast, only to find his GPS stuck in a circular routing bug. It kept sending him back to the same closed logging road, ignoring every detour he tried. Hours lost, fuel wasted, and no cell service to call for help. Stories like this aren't rare. Rider forums are packed with tales of navigation apps crashing mid-ride or recalculating endlessly in the middle of nowhere. The problem isn't just software glitches. Sometimes, hardware quirks strike at the worst time. A popular motorcycle GPS froze solid after a thunderstorm, leaving its owner hunting for road signs in the dark. Another rider found his phone's navigation app drained his battery by noon, with the next gas station 50 miles away. Tech is great when it works, but when it doesn't, you're left guessing at every fork in the road. That's why seasoned tourers always carry offline maps, a paper backup, or even handwritten turn lists. Trusting a single device can strand you miles from help, and no amount of touchscreen swiping will get you out of a dead zone. Out here, the smartest move is to expect your gadgets to fail, and plan for it. A jammed zipper on your main jacket or a stubborn luggage lock can bring the whole trip to a grinding halt. It sounds minor, but when the rain starts and your jacket won't close, or you can't access your tools, you're suddenly exposed to the elements and stuck improvising roadside. Most riders don't realize that zipper sliders wear down from grit and vibration, just like sandpaper on a cement brick. Over time, the metal deforms, and the teeth won't mesh. That's when even a brand new jacket or bag can fail in the middle of nowhere. One composite rider described fumbling with the stuck zipper as a thunderstorm rolled in, hands slipping, tools buried deep in a pannier he couldn't open. The scramble wasted precious daylight and left gear soaked for days. Tire repair kits are another hidden trap. The glue dries out, patches get brittle, and the tiny CO2 cartridges lose charge, sitting in a saddlebag year after year. There's nothing like finding your emergency kit is dead weight just when you're stranded with a flat, miles from cell service. It's not just about carrying spares, it's about checking that every piece actually works before you leave. Small failures like these snowball fast. A $2 zipper or a dried up tube of cement can turn into hours lost, gear ruined, or a forced detour to the nearest town for help. On long rides, the smallest part can cause the biggest headache, and the only fix is a pre-trip shakedown of every latch, slider, and patch kit you're counting on. Bluetooth headsets and phone signals feel like lifelines, until they vanish. Deep in Utah's canyons, a solo rider lost all communications for hours. No calls, no texts, not even a GPS ping. He had planned to check in at the next overlook, but the signal bars never came back. Out here, cell towers don't reach, and satellite connections drop behind stone walls. When your communications go dead, you're on your own, and a breakdown or crash means a long wait for whoever happens to come next. It's not just the network. Bluetooth intercoms can fail without warning, low batteries, rain shorting the unit, or firmware glitches mid-ride. Riders have shared stories of groups splitting up on mountain roads only to discover their communications were dead, and nobody realized until miles later. One iron butt veteran now packs a spare headset battery and a paper list of emergency contacts, just in case the tech quits when it matters most. Seasoned tourers carry old-school backups, printed route cards, pre-arranged check-in times, and even a cheap prepaid phone for emergencies. Because when the canyon walls close in and the signal disappears, you can't Venmo a tow truck or call for help. Out here, redundancy isn't overkill. It's survival. And sometimes, the only thing between you and a financial ambush is a working phone. Sticker shock isn't just about gear. It's the moment you hand over your card for a sandwich and realize lunch on the road costs more than dinner back home. Remote fuel stops take it even further. Out west, a gallon of gas can hit $4.85, compared to barely $3.08 in Texas. That's a $1.77 difference every time you fill up, and on a 200-mile stretch, you may not have a choice. Riders crossing Nevada have posted receipts showing $65 just to fill a mid-sized tank and a jerry can. The price gap isn't a fluke, it's the remote tax, and it hits hardest where you're most desperate. Food and fuel aren't the only punch in the wallet. Break down in the middle of nowhere, and the tow bill can wipe out your entire trip budget. In the Rockies, a simple 63-mile tow often runs $500 or more. Roadside assistance plans rarely cover the full cost, especially when the nearest shop is a 2-hour haul. One rider in Montana was quoted $700 just to get his bike back to the nearest town. No negotiation, no alternatives. Even the basics add up. A sad gas station sandwich can run $14, and that's before you add a drink or chips. Multiply by 3 meals a day, and 5 days on the road can mean $200 in snacks alone. Every rider expects to pay for gas, but few plan for the hidden premium on every bite, every mile, and every mishap. Out here, your credit card is as important as your toolkit. A blown tire in the middle of a remote highway can mean the difference between a quick fix and a $250 bill for a new one you never budgeted for. And if your waterproof jacket gives out in a storm, you're looking at $200 or more to replace it at the next shop, if you can even find one. That's where a budget buffer comes in. Experienced tourers swear by the 30% rule. Whatever you think your trip will cost, add 30% on top and treat it as untouchable backup. It's not just about comfort, it's about survival when the unexpected hits. One composite rider who planned for a $1,500 trip ended up spending nearly $2,000 after a roadside breakdown, a surprise hotel night, and a last-minute gear swap. The lesson? A high-limit credit card or a dedicated savings buffer can keep you on the road when things go sideways. Some riders even carry a prepaid card loaded with emergency funds, kept separate from daily spending money. Planning for fun is easy. Planning for every ugly surprise, not so much. But the riders who make it home without financial scars are the ones who expect the unexpected and have the buffer to prove it. 35 hours in the saddle marks the proven tipping point for physical breakdown, according to data shared in this documentary. Riders face highway hypnosis as early as the 20-minute mark, with microsleeps causing up to 330 feet of blind travel in just 3 seconds. Rapid mountain weather shifts, dropping 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit per 1,000 feet, turn clear routes dangerous in minutes. Even advanced gear can fail after only 1 to 3 years. And GPS misrouting has derailed trips by over 1,800 miles, as documented in real-world cases. Despite detailed planning, costs like $500 emergency tows and $28 roadside sandwiches remain unpredictable. While solutions exist for hydration, navigation, and budgeting, no system can eliminate every risk. The true extent of mental isolation on solo rides is still not fully measured, and the long-term effects of compounding fatigue require more research. For now, the evidence is clear. Long-distance motorcycle travel demands constant vigilance, redundancy, and respect for both internal limits and external threats. Every mile is earned, and every challenge faced leaves a record, one that continues to inform and caution those who follow.